Welcome to today's 4Ps podcast. You know, we often wonder what could have been, and in the long run, what could have been doesn't matter because it never will be. We'll come right back right after these messages with Jason Dunn, and he's going to show how he changed his what could have been to what is. We'll be right back right after this.
Do you have the next big thing? That world-changing whatchamacallit? Do you have a story to tell? You need a show-stopping web presence. You need the web spinners at Webinet. With big picture solutions, spinning together SEO, stellar web design, blogging, podcasts, and social media integrations, you'll find yourself developing your latest and greatest thing, idea, or telling that next chapter in your story. Look us up today at webinet.com, and remember, you're not everywhere unless you're Webinet.
When looking for personalized details on life insurance or retirement planning without the overly aggressive sales pitch, I'm your resource. I'm Mel Kay with LifeInsuranceSafeZone.com. I will expertly address those needs without the accompanying pressure, allowing you to make an informed decision in your own time, enabling you to retire with dignity and permitting your loved ones on possibly the worst day of their lives to mourn you free from financial worries. I'm at 805-300-1769.
Welcome back to the 4Ps podcast. In my book, The 4Ps of You, I wrote a story about my dad and I back in 1989, back when I was a senior in high school. We were driving down to Pennsylvania to buy lottery tickets. At the time, the lottery was $115 million in Pennsylvania. Now, that was a record lottery jackpot. Nowadays, $115 million is nothing. No one even wants to go buy a ticket for $115 million. They're waiting for that $1 billion jackpot. But back then, it was a huge thing. And as we were driving down there, we went right after I get out of school. That's why I said I was a senior in high school. So right after I got out of school, we get in the car, we start driving down there. As my dad is driving, I am looking at license plates, and the license plates, trying to get numbers off so I can get some numbers and write them down so we can play those numbers when we get to the ticket booth. As we're on our way to Pennsylvania, we had a flat tire. So we had to change the tire. And we did. We changed it. We got it done pretty quick, and we still could continue our trek down to Pennsylvania to get those tickets. And we did. We continued that trek. When we got to Pennsylvania and we got to a store where they were selling the ticket, the lines were literally blocks long. But we stayed, waited in line. We get to the threshold of this convenience store, and because of the deadline, the machine shut down. Now, I don't know if they do this now, but back in Pennsylvania, it was like a 30-minute time between the machine shutting down and the lottery numbers being drawn. So, we were cool about it. We weren't going to win anyway. It was a fun trip. I got to spend time with Dad, and everything was good to go. We went to a truck stop to go get some dinner on our way home. And as we sat in the truck stop, we looked at the numbers. And we watched the numbers get pulled up. I had the sheet of paper just hey, let's see what happens. And I will tell you right now, every single number pulled up on that paper. Did I play the number? No, I didn't. Every single number, one of the set of numbers that I wrote came up. We would have hit the lottery. It would have been split 8 ways. If we would have had our ticket, it would have been split 9 ways. And we were sick. The way on our way home, we lost out on millions of dollars, and we were really, really sick to our stomach. It was a punch in the gut, no doubt about it. And you know what? For years, we wondered about what could have been. And sometimes, we joke about that because we had no control over it. It was a lottery drawing, whatever, if we got it, we got it. If we didn't, we didn't, and we didn't. But we joke about what could have been if we would have hit the lottery at that time. We do. We joke about it all. We joked about it all the time. The guest that I have today, his name is Jason Dunn. Jason Dunn is a very successful individual, and he went out and built industries, literal industries, on his own, in his own merit. He did a great job. He was an athlete growing up, and he was going to play football in Europe. And so if you think about football, I know we're in the United States, and this is a national broadcast, but if you're listening from the United States, we're not talking about NFL football, we're talking about soccer. And he is a fantastic athlete. He's a fantastic athlete today. But, you know, he is going to talk about in his story for a lot of his life when he was starting out. He often reminisced about what could have been if he would have kept going forward on that trajectory to becoming a professional athlete. And he talks about how that what could have been actually interfered with what could be. And it wasn't until his time when he decided to make a change that his life started getting better. When we come back, we're going to hear a story. Jason Dunn. We'll be right back right after this.
Want a financial detective who translates your money into clear insights and understands your vision? Meet Rose Knows Bookkeeping. Free up your time and get peace of mind with accurate, up-to-date finances. Let Rose handle the numbers while you focus on success. Contact Rose Knows Bookkeeping today.
Hey, 4Ps audience. First of all, I want to thank you for listening to the podcast, The 4Ps of You. I thoroughly enjoy doing it, and I thoroughly enjoy the feedback I get from listeners. I hope you enjoy the stories and the guests that come on this program all the time. And if you do enjoy the guests and the stories that come on this program, you will absolutely enjoy my book, The 4Ps of You. The 4Ps of You are a collection of stories dealing with purpose, planning, passion, and persistence. These stories are there to guide you through your journey to see exactly what you want in life. The 4Ps of You is available on all forums. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it Barnes & Noble. You can get it on Google Play. You can get it on Apple. You can get it anywhere you buy books. You can get it in paperback or you can get it in e-form. Please, that's the 4Ps of You. Get it. Would love to have you read it and continue to thank you for listening to the 4Ps podcast with Trunis Goggins. Welcome back. We were talking a little bit at the beginning of the segment, talking about what could have been. And we talk about that quite a bit. We have a guest today from Australia. We're going back to the great country of Australia. His name is Jason Dunn. Jason Dunn has a book out called Unlimited, and it's going to be relaunched in the United States in November. You will be able to see it in Barnes & Noble and in different stores throughout the country. The book is Unlimited. I said the show. There is, I don't think there is, but whatever. But the book is called Unlimited, and it's by Jason Dunn. I've known him for a short time, and in the short time I have known him, I've been extremely impressed with his life story. Jason, welcome all the way from Sydney, Australia. How are you doing?
Trunis, thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today, and hi to everyone that's listening and watching. So I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And Jason, one of the things we talk about is purpose, and you have served your purpose, and you're serving your purpose now in so many different roles. You're an artist, you're a runner, you're a CEO, you're an entrepreneur. There are so many different things you are. There are so many different roles that you have. You're now at the point to where, I know before we were talking about the different holidays between the United States and Australia, and you were like saying that every single day is a holiday, and you've worked yourself up to that point. And that's great. I cannot wait to say that every day is a holiday, and that will be real nice. And with the tax structure that we have in the United States, I'll be about 95 years old by the time I'm able to say that. But with that being said, has it always been like that for you, Jason?
I think so. In terms of either success or development or evolution, and or how you perceive every single day, no, it certainly hasn't been like that. And I probably, one of the things that I found and practiced, and there are a whole bunch of daily practices, 8 daily practices that I talk about that for me, transform my life. One, and probably the most key element of foundation, is the practice of gratitude. Mm-hmm. So gratitude is the foundation of happiness and positivity, and which therefore forms the foundation of being able to create, an unlimited mindset and achieve whatever it is that, you truly want to achieve in life. So the principle of every day being a holiday is just getting up and saying, I only have today, and life goes quickly. So I need to make the most of today. And I've had developed a philosophy decades ago of, you can't waste a single day, whatever it is, whether it's telling someone you love them, showing them you love them, how you apply yourself in your career, how you become healthy and fit and go after particular goals or whatever the goals you aspire to achieve. It's all built on that foundation. And gratitude is, gratitude's the rocket fuel.
Absolutely. Now, you talk about, making sure you're healthy and things like that. You are an athlete. You are a runner. You are one of the very few people I've had on this podcast that actually knows both the Goggins brothers in different capacity. You're never going to, I'm going to tell you right now, I will skate I can't skate anymore, but I do not. Like my brother, I do not run, and so we will not run together. We'll swim together. We'll skate together. Ride bike together. I'll ride miles and miles and miles, but I just don't run. But anyway, I was saying that jokingly, but you have always been an athlete, but there were certain things that happened. You're not originally from Australia.
I'm not.
Tell the backstory about your life.
Okay. In a nutshell, well, I'm 60, so I've had two lives. That's the way, I conceptualize it. And the reality is it's two lives. One is my life until I was 35, which was I achieved a bunch of things, but I never fulfilled my potential. And then I have my second life, which is my current life, which is since 35, where I face fears. I action what I need to action today. There's never a tomorrow. And I've, developed myself to the point that I believe I've created a unlimited mindset that enables me to achieve limitless things. And the foundation of the second life is based on the regret and squandering certain aspects of my first life, which is, without that that life experience. That's something we often do. We're young, we think we'll live forever, we think we're bulletproof. We don't see the consequences of all the things we do, and everything you do in life has a consequence. So look, I grew up in the UK. I loved the thing that I truly loved, my passion, as it is for lots of kids in the UK, boys and now boys and girls, was to play soccer. I loved it, and I was pretty good. So I got to the point in my teens where I was playing 4 competitive games a week.
Wow.
And, I reached the level that I was playing for my county, which is the equivalent of a state, probably not in terms of size in the US, but significance in the UK. And I played for my state at, a couple of different levels. All I wanted to do was to be a professional soccer player in the UK, every kid's dream. So I pursued that with my, I tend to have a fairly obsessive nature. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it really well, or I'm going to give it everything. And as you know, if you want to be exceptional at anything in life, you've got to give it everything. You've got to be focused. You've got to be disciplined. So anyway, I got my big chance at around about 15 years of age. It was the second tier, so it wasn't the first division, the equivalent of the Premier League. It was the next tier down, so full professional. And I was offered a apprenticeship contract when I was 15. And what that means in the UK is there's massive amounts of risk. Each major club takes on perhaps 40 apprentices a year. It's a tough gig, and I'd probably only 2 survive out of 40 at the end of 2 years. But the key thing there is, that's in terms of education, they're the most important years for becoming qualified and getting O levels and, starting your life. And so I was 15. It would have meant catching 2 trains to, the coast in the UK, which would have meant hours. So, I would have needed to do that 3 or 4 times a week. The risk was high. The likelihood of success was, relatively low, even though I was pretty good. And so I made a decision with my head and not my heart. And, I pursued my education. I turned that opportunity down. And it was probably, the biggest regret of my life. And So I did that, and then I found some distractions. Probably you can guess the typical distractions. Unfortunately, they included alcohol, cigarettes. Became a packet of cigarette a day smoker around about 16, or not far off. And I let that dream go, and I sort of knuckled down. I did pretty well educationally, but I faced into normal life and I let those dreams go. So for the next 16, perhaps 17 years, as I built into a corporate career, I focused on the things that I thought were important, but they actually probably weren't too important. And I would go to a lot of functions, especially in the corporate world, and you'd have dinner, you have guests, and you drink. And I would say to people that my mantra, I'm ashamed to say today, although it was the foundation and the nucleus of my second life, was I used to tell people that I could have. I'd say I could have been a professional soccer player, and I would say it almost as though it was a badge of honor.
Wow.
Yeah. But in fact, I came to realize that it actually wasn't, because when I looked in the mirror, and then as I increasingly said that to people, it occurred to me that, I was maybe I was talented enough, but I didn't take the risk, and I could have, but I didn't. It's as simple as that. Why I didn't doesn't matter to anybody else. And the message that I was, trying to communicate was essentially irrelevant, because actually what it said when you went through it was, well, actually you could have, but you didn't. And you probably, you didn't have the guts, you didn't face your fears, you didn't take a risk, and you didn't put the hard work in, you didn't give it a go. You did not give your dream a go. And so I became, I started to dislike them. I became a little bit ashamed of my mantra.
So now at 35, you said 35, you lived two lives. So the first 35 years you lived one life. These last 25 years you've lived a different life, and a life that you absolutely, totally enjoy, and you've embraced it. Was there a single moment? Was there something that happened at 35 that you just said, this isn't working, or this needs to change?
I don't think there was an accumulation, like over a significant period of time of my own, it came to sort of an inflection point, my own discomfort, because I knew the truth. And, what you learn obviously in life is, doesn't matter what you say to other people and whether you can convince them or not, actually what really matters is what you think and how you feel and what you know. So I sort of started to become ashamed of what I was saying, and embarrassed a bit to myself that I actually hadn't, I could have, but I didn't. And my mantra was one I was becoming a little bit ashamed of. So I was acutely aware of trueness, and it was building. There were many, many, many times. In fact, it was sort of getting to the point that it was weekly and sometimes daily that I would feel that little bit of shame, but the regret was growing. So this regret was sort of snowballing along, and it was going to run me over. That's what it was going to do. It was coming down the hill, and it was going to run me over. So I did not have, I think I just did not have a purpose either. And so I actually found my purpose by chance, which is why you and I talk a great deal about purpose. And in my book, I talk a lot about, my story a lot about purpose, because purpose is the thing that fires you up from the moment you wake up and open your eyes. And it's the thing that keeps you motivated and young, and to learn and to strive and to, just keep picking yourself up and giving it a go. It's your motivation. And ultimately, it's probably your greatest passport to longevity is that motivation. So I was searching. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I needed it. I was aware that I needed it. So it just happened by chance, quickly. So it has happened quickly. A friend of mine said, "Hey, Jace, we're going to do a corporate triathlon. Would you, do you want to come and be part of the team? There's three of us." And that sounds fantastic. I'm kind of looking for something to do. Yeah, great. Sign me up. He said it's, about 15, 16 weeks away, 4 months away. I said, yeah, it's fine. I can. And I knew it was like a 300-meter swim. It was a 12K bike, and it was a 3K run. So I thought, that's no problem. I can do the 3K run on my head. So I started running. And then 3 weeks later, we caught up for a cup of coffee, and he said, "Hey, Jace, how's the training going?" I said, fine. I'll nail the run. And he looked at me and he said, what do you mean? What about the bike and the swim? And I went, I just knew the blood drained from my face and my body. And he could see the fear.
Right.
I said, what do you mean swimming? He said, well, there's three of us, but we're all doing all three legs. I said, I thought there were three of us. I'm just getting on the end of doing a run. And he said, no, you can do that. Come on, it's only 300 meters. And so I knew in that moment that was actually potentially going to change my life, because my greatest fear, my two greatest fears from the way I was brought up, in the UK as a non-swimmer, is drowning. I couldn't put my head underwater. I couldn't, I could swim half a lap of a pool if it was to save my life, but with my head out of the water. And my second greatest fear was failure, because I'd been brought up in a household that, you weren't, wasn't about being vulnerable, and, you need to give your best shot, and you had to kind of win. And so I just knew in that moment how important that was. Now, this was so challenging for me that I would arrive at the swimming pool, and it was an indoor pool in Brisbane. I'd arrive at the pool, and the first time I arrived there, I sat in my car for nearly 20 minutes.
Wow.
And all I wanted to do, I was so fearful that I just wanted to turn the engine on and turn around. And this was a conversation or a battle with myself for 20 minutes to literally get out of the car and go into the swimming pool. And I did that. I actually did go in, and I managed to sort of get through, I think it was 2 or 3 separate 25-meter laps, forcing myself to hold my head underwater with a nose clip on. Panicked a few times, popped out of the water. Someone brushed me or kicked me or whatever, and so that went on, and I did. That battle raged for weeks and weeks and weeks until I learned how to create the confidence, which overcomes your inertia and starts to deal with your fear, is confidence. That's how you build it. That's how your mind says, hey, you can do that, because you didn't fail last time, you didn't die, and you didn't so I did that, and that battle raged on, and I eventually did the race. I nearly died in the swim. I nearly drowned.
So you nearly drowned in the swim. This is after you, so you swam. So the first time you went to the pool in Brisbane, you went to this pool in Brisbane, you did 50 meters, correct?
Correct.
And then you were done, for that day. You eventually had to get yourself up to 300 meters in order to make the swim.
I did, which I did, yep.
Okay, so you practiced all the way up to 300 meters, then you did the 300 meters, and then when you did the 300 meters, you almost drowned.
Yes, because I let my some of my ego and some of my competitive, natural competitive nature come in, and I stood at the front of the wave. I sprinted into the water. I knew I was a good runner. I sprinted into the water and thought, I'm going to get well ahead of this group, and then, which I did on the going in from the beach, and then 50 minutes later, they all swam over the top of me.
Oh, okay.
So I went under, and I'm on my back like a turtle trying to kick, and so anyway, so I did that. I completed the race, did okay, because I caught people up as it went along. I came dead last. I was last out of the 105 in my age group wave, but I didn't finish last. And so I got this incredible euphoria and this high. Suddenly I could feel that, I had faced that enormous fear.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't drown. I'd overcome it. And I just wanted more. And so for a couple of weeks, I kind of searched for how could I do something bigger and more challenging, and how could I replicate that, that euphoria and that sense of achievement. So I was sitting having a cup of coffee and a cigarette on the lounge one Saturday afternoon. And this is, 25 years ago, watching the wide world of sports, which brought, shows essentially great events from around the world, particularly the US, and I was captivated. It was the Hawaii Ironman World Championships, which, in Kona, which 25 years ago was still a bit of a kind of peculiarity, and now it's kind of obviously one of the, the premier endurance events on the planet. And I was so engrossed that by the time I finished watching the show, that I said to myself, I am going to qualify for the Hawaii Ironman World Championships. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to.
This is a guy who finished dead last in a 300-meter swim.
Yeah.
And now you're going to go and you're going to compete in a world-class event.
Yeah, when multiplying the swim by 12 to 13 times.
Exactly.
Replicate the bike by 15 times and the run by, I think it's, 15 times also. And I'm going to have to qualify. I'm going to have to go and do that in a place where the, trade winds are extreme, the, temperatures, and so on. So
Absolutely.
I was just excited. So that was my first, well, I guess the mini triathlon was, but I talk a lot about impossible goals, so the pre-creating an unlimited mindset, you have things that most humans do that they, in their mind, but they don't think they can do. They believe,
Right.
They're impossible. And so you go through this wonderful transformation. There's a point at which you create sufficient confidence that you start to unlimit, and you believe that the things you thought were impossible are actually now possible. You start to say, I can do that. And so that was, wrote it down, that became my goal. And that was the first time, because I knew, I'm in business and in finance, and I understand, the principles of planning and setting goals and so on. But what I needed to do was I needed to take my excitement and my impossible goal, and I needed to create more confidence and belief in a similar way that I'd done with getting through that 300-meter swim.
Right.
I came up with a 90-day high-performance plan, which I've lived by for 25 years, and I coach a lot of people. I coach for free. I'm not a paid coach, but I teach people how to, my giving back is to teach people how they can achieve exceptional things and not waste a day. So a 90-day high-performance plan essentially is a simple and conceptual way to build a 90-day plan that you roll over, and it makes it really crystal clear and sharp what you need to do to get to potentially an impossible goal that's a year away, 5 years away, or 10 years away. And I've set goals that are 5 and 10 year goals.
Going by 90 minutes.
Going by 90 days, which actually
increments.
brings it back to each day. In other words,
Right.
It's the don't waste a day principle, and you're already clear. So what you need to do is release your mind from, can I do it? Will I do it? Should I do it? You know what? I just need to get up and do what I said I would do today.
Wow.
And I know that I will qualify for the Hawaii Ironman World Championships within 5 years or whatever it is. And that principle applied. I've used that, replicated that in business. I've coached many of my leaders in business to actually use that very same template. And it means you don't waste the day and you're really crystal clear. So then comes down to your discipline and your drive to get up and do what you need to do every day to get to this enormous goal. And I set my two major goals then were, I've just done this little thing. I'm going to qualify for the Australian Ironman. And back in those days, there was only one Ironman race in Australia. And of course, it's, grown massively here and everywhere around the world. So
yes, it is.
I needed to qualify in a half Ironman to then qualify for the Australian Ironman, and then someday in an Ironman qualify fast enough to go to Hawaii. And that's how that journey started. So
it starts out at 90 days. So
yeah, it's a 90-day high performance plan. It's really simple. It's in my book, and I'm happy to send that to anyone that's listening or watching. Drop me a line or DM, and I'll send that. I'm happy to spend a few minutes, explaining. Although the book explains how do you actually create and implement them to not waste a day and to achieve whatever it is that you can conceive of achieving, whether it's personally or in business, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 years away, but stay focused on the day.
That's absolutely beautiful. You know what? And plan for the future, absolutely plan for the future, but live for the day. And that is a beautiful thing to go. That is a beautiful thing.
It is indeed. Well, you only ever get today, Trunis, as you know. One day. It's the day you live in, today.
Absolutely. Because you know what? Tomorrow, you may not be here. So live for today and get whatever you have to get done, done. And that is excellent. So my thing is to you, and I know that we're talking about the book, we're talking about the relaunch of the book Unlimited. What has inspired you? What inspired you to write this book?
I thought about it. I thought about it from time to time, and again, I've always set myself challenges, and some pretty extreme ones, even younger. And I won't go into all those now. That again, they're in my book. But a really dear friend a special person came into my life who started to learn about my life. This was probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. And as I was explaining some things, I could see it was the awareness growing. And she said, "You've done a lot of stuff and you've faced an enormous amount of adversity, like you've nearly died a bunch of times, hospitalized 35 times, broken most of the bones in my body.
Wow.
And you just keep coming back. And you have grown yourself to be, so determined and so relentless that you could help a lot of people. You could make a difference to a lot of people. And you know what? Why don't you write a book?" And I'd thought about it before, but again, that element of no matter where you are in life, you still have, I think humility and a little bit of self-doubt is a kind of really healthy thing. And so I contemplated it for the rest of the day. And, my life is generally, my life is much more on display now. I've been a corporate CEO, I've been in the corporate world, but it's kind of, it's confined to business and it's professional. This is very deeply personal. And so writing about my life and then talking about, the other challenge is how do you, inspiring people, you've got to be vulnerable, but, you've also got to be a bit confident. And so for me, I had that, was uncomfortable with saying, I've done this and I achieved that, without feeling like that, you're just blowing your own trumpet. So I was kind of challenged by that. So these are all the little fears that eat away at us. Some, life has many fears, whether it's kind of public fear, friend fear, humiliation, failure, whatever it is. And I dwell on it for a few hours, the rest of that day. And I said to myself, this is just another example. This is quite a reasonably big one. You need to face your fear. You need to go, you know what, stuff it. If I believe in this, other people believe in it, I need to give this the red hot go. And so what? If I do something that I'm proud of, that I help, a bunch of people, maybe not millions, but a bunch of people, and, the book doesn't really sell, and so be it. What am I going to do? Do I live with regret and go, I should have written that book? In 10 years' time, be saying to someone, I could have written a great story in a book. And I went, you know what? I spent too much of my life not doing that. I went, right, I'm gonna do this. And and so I did. And the very next day, I started writing the book. And within 6 weeks, I've written a 400-page book. And I'm not sure about the original quality, but kind of 80% of what I wanted to say, share, to help people, assimilate it and go, actually, I can relate to that. This is how I can apply that to my life. I can take that bit. I can take that best practice or that daily practice, and I can start to build the layers and foundations that will start to elevate me up. And so I did that, and then I had a professional copy editor and someone do a bit of style editing. And then I reread it 4 or 5 times, and I rewrote it 4 or 5 times. So that was it. It was about facing that fear. And I'm kind of living the last 18, 20 months, replicate a lot of things, periods of my life that I've been through, facing the fear, giving it absolutely everything you have, creating a plan, and becoming resilient. So I never, no is just a knockback or a setback is just something that makes me more determined. And I've learned that, that if you want to be truly successful in life, you just got to keep going. You've got to have faith,
Absolutely.
and you've got to lift yourself up, and you've got to never give up. So I got turned down by all the publishers. They, all the same kind of, well, your book looks really good, but it's kind of not really for us. And so I went, you know what? Okay, that's great. I believe in this. I'm going to get this, published, ready, and I'm going to go and put myself out there. I'm just going to give this a crack. So what if? So I kind of had a bit of a marketing plan. I haven't really spent money on that. I've sort of actioned, just working with different networks and groups, and so I just did it myself. And on any given day, sort of 8 or 9 months after sort of going onto a number of online platforms, there are people reading my book in 15 to 20 different countries around the world.
It's beautiful.
And there is not a single day that doesn't go past where I'm not humbled, because I know what I've done, but it doesn't make me think that I'm any better than anyone else. This is all just about me and how I feel. And I get messages every single day, on Facebook and different groups, every single day, of people saying, I just loved your book. It has changed my life. It's done this for me. I've taken this from it. I'm recommending it to somebody else. And it just started to take off. And I would love to reach millions of people, because for the simple reason that my purpose, and we talk about purpose, I've always had a purpose of helping others and sharing, passing on some of what I know and what I've learned, because I genuinely just want everyone and anyone to be happy and have a fulfilled life. But this became my big purpose of, well, how do I magnify that and take and broaden that reach? And how do I change hundreds, thousands, and potentially millions of life? It's not about me. It's about other people. And so I still have that determination. I still believe that will happen. And I will keep going until that is fulfilled. And because I know I can.
The thing is with you, Jason, is that you went from, and I'm going back to this story of, you went through, I can barely swim 25 meters, to now you are a world-class athlete. And I'm going to say this, I'm old too. At your age, you're a world-class athlete. Okay. So, but and that is a wonderful thing. That is a wonderful thing. And what you are trying to do with your book and what you're trying to do with all these things is just something that people need to know. You don't have to buy this book. You do not have to buy Unlimited because you can be a world-class athlete, but you do. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from his life. And one thing that you did say during this interview that I wanted to go back to, you were talking about a couple of years ago, you were saying, I could have been, because you made a decision when you were 15 years old. And then in your new life, you're saying, I'm not going to say what could have been. I'm going to know what could have been, because I'm going to go ahead and do it. With the book, you didn't sit there and say, well, you're not going to be laying on your deathbed in any day, anytime, saying, man, I really should have wrote a book before I died. You wrote a book, and you're going to probably write others. Okay. And that is a great thing, because you learned from that 15-year-old that you will never in life say what could have been. And that is a beautiful thing. And that's the thing that if any message, if there's any message for anybody to get out of today's podcast, is the fact that try not to live with regret at the end of the day. Just do it. If it fails, who cares? It's going to fail. At least you tried.
Absolutely. And Trina's, absolutely spot on. I talk a lot about legacy. In fact, sort of one of the chapters talks about legacy, which is, how do you inspire and motivate yourself not to take the easier road, not to take the thing that brings you gratification, because it's commercial. You go buy something or whatever. That's not really meaningful. It doesn't make you feel healthier or more alive, or your brain work better. So how do you self-recognize that and take yourself forward? So my best practice, or daily best practice, is, I call it the armchair test, which is what you look at, you kind of take And I work with a lot of retired. My teams have, people that reach retirement, and most of them have massive regrets in life and, kind of too late and so on. Is the armchair test is where you project yourself forward to the age of 60 or 65 or 70 or whatever, based on what you've done and where you're at, and go, how am I going to feel about that? What is my, and it doesn't matter what your legacy is externally to anybody else. That's irrelevant, because you are stuck with yourself. You are on your own. You will have all the time in the world to reflect on what you didn't do in life. And so this is no regrets. This is, what would you want your legacy to be? And once you see that, you go, are you happy with it now? And I was so unhappy that my legacy became, my purpose became, kind of no regrets. Go find out what it is that you're really capable of. And if you give that a go and you give it everything and you fail, doesn't matter. Absolutely. What is important is, you gave it your best shot, that you didn't waste your capability, your opportunity, and you gave it everything.
Absolutely. Jason Dunn, Unlimited is the book. His life is definitely unlimited. He has so many different roles that artist, entrepreneur, runner, athlete, you name it, he's done it. His book will be re-released in the fall, so it'll be November of this year, 2024, in the United States and in Canada as well. We will see, this is not the last time you'll hear Jason Dunn here on our podcast, and probably, I know this is not the last time you'll hear him here in the United States of America. Jason, thank you for being on the program. We'll be right back right after this. Oh, go ahead.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back. Over the weekend, this past weekend, I actually had the privilege of going to Johnson City, Tennessee. I was signing books at the Johnson City, Tennessee Barnes & Noble. I'm going to tell you right now, first of all, the atmosphere at Barnes & Noble on a Saturday is fantastic. It's so relaxed. And even though I was working at the time, I really had a good time. In Johnson City, Tennessee, it is a small town in Tennessee. It's in eastern Tennessee. And it literally is smack dab. It's like a couple of miles south of Virginia and a couple of miles north of North Carolina. Literally, and when I mean a couple of miles, I mean a couple of miles. And it is smack dab in the middle. And you would think, it's a small town, a smaller town. It is one of the most diverse towns I've ever been to. There is a college there, Eastern Tennessee State University. It is a great town. The people there are just unbelievable. I had a fun time talking to them. This week, I will be going to Orlando. I'll be in Orlando in a couple days. I'm going to be going to the NAMI conference in Orlando, Florida. I will be selling books there. And then that's in Orlando, Florida. And then the week after that, I will be in St. Catharines, Ontario, and in Toronto, Ontario. Word on the Street is going on. The Word on the Street Book Festival is going on in Toronto, and I will be up there. My books will be on display and all that other good stuff. I'm really looking forward to that. And I will be doing a book signing Saturday, the 28th, from 1 to 4, and that's in St. Catharines, Ontario. And I will be signing at the Chapters bookstore at the new Fairview Mall, and that is in St. Catharines, Ontario. I say this each time. It's not too far from Buffalo, Niagara Falls, like 45 minutes from Buffalo. I have a lot of friends that live in Buffalo. I'm from Buffalo. There is no Bills game going on Saturday, so please come and see me. Would love to hang out with you. I miss all of you guys so much. For you guys in Canada, my friends in St. Catharines and my friends in Niagara Falls, please be there. It'll be fantastic. Cannot wait to see all of you there. Again, that is going to be the 28th, where I will be at the Chapters bookstore at the Fairview Mall. Then I will be going back to Indiana. I'm taking a weekend off. Yes, I am. I'm taking a weekend off after literally going from Florida to Canada and then back to North Carolina. I am going to take a weekend off, and I will be taking that weekend off. But on the 12th of October, I will be in Plainfield, Indiana, at Perry at the Crossing, at a Barnes & Noble at Perry at the Crossing. I'm really looking forward to that. Like I said, my time at Barnes & Noble is so much fun. The staff and what they put together there, it's just such a phenomenal time. It's a great time. It's a relaxing time. It's a fun time. And the time, I'm there usually 3 hours or so at a time signing books. And the time that is there, the people that I meet, I really, I love my time there. It's a great store. It's a great bookstore, great atmosphere, and love talking to people there. So remember, that will be on October 12th. Then after that, I'm going to take a couple of weeks off. I'm going to take a little bit of a break, hopefully get, I don't know, maybe be back on the road just before Halloween. We'll talk about that soon, and I will give you an update of my schedule after that. We'll be right back right after this.
Stopping web presence. You need the web spinners at Webinet. With big picture solutions, spinning together SEO, stellar web design, blogging, podcasts, and social media integrations, you'll find yourself developing your latest and greatest thing, idea, or telling that next chapter in your story. Look us up today at webinet.com, and remember, you're not everywhere unless you're Webinet.
Welcome back to the final segment of the 4Ps podcast. I hope you enjoyed Jason's interview. If you want to hear more about Jason, you can get his book Unlimited. It is on Amazon. It will be released here in the United States in October of this year. I'm totally looking forward to that release here. He is actually going to be coming here to the United States, touring and signing books here at that time. So please make sure that you are available to see what he is doing here in the United States. Read his book, check out his website, and you'll be able to see him here in the United States coming up very, very soon. He's going to be here in 2025. Speaking about 2025, I will be in Australia, so we're probably switching. Our plans are going to probably meet in March of 2025. Details are being formulated right now as we speak. I will be there for a conference in March of 25. Looking forward to that conference, and also I will be doing a book tour there as well. And I am really looking forward to going to Australia. I have tons of friends in Australia, and it is just a great place to be. We will be talking to you again next week. Actually, no, we'll be talking to you again later on this week. We will have another guest, but this time we're going to come back to North America for our guest then, and our guest is a little bit of a surprise, but he is a great author. You're going to love it, and I will introduce him soon. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.